Hello there, welcome back, and if you're new here, hello, my name is Dara, and in today's video I'm showing you how I design one of my favorite signature arrangements, the ONYX Jewel. You can have this arrangement delivered to anywhere in LA as far as Malibu. To shop this arrangement, click the link in the description box below. This arrangement can also be designed in silk flowers and shipped anywhere in the world. The form to inquire about a silk ONYX jewel is also linked below. Let's begin the tutorial for today's fresh ONYX jewel arrangement. Let's start with this marble Lazy Susan. This is great for designing on. I always put on 3/8 inch felt pads. This just helps ensure that whatever surface the arrangement is going on, that surface is protected. I use my Loctite gel, and then once that is all set and prepped, I go in with galvanized chicken wire, cut off the end of that piece, put it in the vase, and then stretch open the longer piece and create a dome-like shape here. And then I secure it over top with 1/4 inch Oasis floral tape, crisscross over top using my Victorinox florist knife to cut that. You can also tear it with your fingers, or whatever tool you're choosing to use to create this arrangement. But I always recommend using the Victorinox florist knife when designing with fresh cut flowers. It gives the cleanest cut and creates the most optimum cut for the best hydration. So then I'm just taking that tape and bonding it, making sure that I'm pushing all of the tape down so that any water that could potentially get in there does not. Then I use FLORA LUX powder food, 1 scoop approximately, and then put the water in the vase and we're good to go. Now we're starting with our first flower. This is a stunning carnation. I am absolutely obsessed. It is truly a near black color. This is Carnation Moonlight. This is a series of carnations that are a purple hue ranging from an almost black, very deep plum, which I'm using here today, the Moonlight, to a soft periwinkle purple. There's about 3 to 5 different purple shades that we get at our market here in Los Angeles. And this is just really one of my favorite elements to use for my ONYX jewel arrangement because it has that glorious jewel tone color to it. It has a shift. It's not just a flat purple. There's dimension to it, like most flowers, but we've got purple, pink, black. There's a bit of red in it too. But the overall hue is just this kind of royal plum purple, and in certain lights it really does appear black. So I'm just going ahead, cutting off any of the little nodes that would be sticking out and creating any sort of obstruction with getting other flowers in. And I always use the carnation for this style arrangement as my first flower because it creates a nice base. Now I'm going in with my second flower, which is hyacinth. I got 1 bunch for this arrangement and they were absolutely stunning, like a shocking royal blue color. Oh wait, no, I actually got 2 bunches. What am I talking about? My bad. 2 bunches of double hyacinth. These are not the standard hyacinth that have a single layer of petals. There's double, if not triple, the amount of petals on these blooms. They're absolutely hypnotizing and the fragrance is just spectacular. I love any chance I can get to use hyacinth, I do, because it has such an impactful fragrance to it. It's an old-fashioned classic flower, but used in this context and especially with this color, it gives it an extremely edgy, modern take. And I'm going in with this as my second flower. I've explained this in other videos, but because it's a delicate stem and now I have that carnation base, those hyacinth can rest in there very easily. third flower in is calla lily, and this is the famous Picasso calla lily. This is a picketed flower. I've explained in my Trader Joe's arrangement, which I will link up to the right here. Huge fan of picketed flowers. It is one of the things that I think gives an arrangement a lot of texture and interest, especially if you're doing a lot of color blocking. This is a really fantastic way to introduce an accent into your arrangement. And because this is the ONYX JEWEL, and I wanted to give it a little bit more of, it's kind of a hybrid between the ONYX JEWEL and the yin and yang, because we have a couple of white elements in here. And now I'm using stunning black baccara rose, and I'm using my Zenport shears to clean up all of the outside calyx on that rose so that none of that greenery shows. This is the most important thing when creating a greenery-less, super color saturated arrangement. It is extra work, it does take extra time, but it's well worth your effort if you're interested in creating this style arrangement. So the Zenport shears are really good for this type of detail work because they're extremely thin, they're very lightweight, so they're easy on the hands, and they are a lot more fine than garden shears or even your Victorinox florist knife. You wouldn't necessarily be able to get as clean or as close a cut with garden shears or Victorinox florist knives. So it's good to have those two tools. I really don't think that this arrangement calls for garden shears. You could get away with using Zenport and Victorinox knife. Now we have spectacular Vanda orchid. This is in the same color family as those hyacinths, so it's playing off nicely there. And I'm going in with this flower at this stage because now there is enough of a base with those carnations and roses to make sure that it's going to be sitting on its own surface level and that the entire face will be displayed. And what I'm doing is just tweaking those flowers a little bit so that it fits perfectly like a little puzzle piece. I'm not just blank kind of putting it down onto the flower. I'm manipulating the petals a little bit. I'm arranging it into its place. I kind of move the petal behind the rose there. So like all of my other pavé arrangements, you can see that there is a little bit of dimension between each flower. Now we have stunning black hero tulips. These are a Dutch import flower. They are super, 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 super gorgeous. I cannot get over the color of these. They are not a solid black. They have, as you can see here, a little bit of lighter plum and green on the outer edge. If I took off those outer petals, that would have created a super solid black tulip, but I wanted the recipient of this arrangement, which was for one of my all-time favorite regulars, Mary Queen. This was a birthday arrangement for her. I wanted to make sure that you could tell the difference between that black hero tulip and the carnation. If we just took those outer petals off, like reflexed them, they would have looked a little bit too similar to the carnation, so I went ahead, left those outer petals on, and it just created a slight variation in texture and shape, because they are a little bit taller than the bloom itself is taller than the carnation. They're not as flat as a head, so it's just a tiny variation in texture and shape that just creates that visual interest. This was a 10 stem bunch, and I will leave the entire recipe below for you, so if you choose to recreate this arrangement, you can. Now we've got burgundy ranunculus. Another spectacular, super saturated flower here, and this is all within the same color family. When I was shopping for materials at Market, this is what I came inspired by, and I usually, when I'm designing an arrangement that's all in the same color palette, tend to go for flowers that are warm and cool. So we have both warm and cool jewel tones in this arrangement. Between black baccara and the hyacinth, we have a lot to behold in this arrangement. Not sure I got a picture of the orlaya, but this is one of those accent flowers that I'm going in with now. I just used a couple of these in the arrangement just to give another accent of white, but not too much. I didn't want too much of the orlaya in the arrangement because then it would have looked a little too spotty. So I just put it where it felt like it was a good accent to place it at. And as you notice, with some of the other style arrangements that I do like this, I usually will go in layer by layer. So I'll start like I did with the carnations, and that's one layer. Then the hyacinth, that's a second layer. And then once I get a good base layer down, I save some of those flowers to finish off the arrangement later. So even though I'm going in here with this ranunculus, you can still see that there are some holes, and that is where I'll go in and fill in with more carnation, more vanda, and perhaps even more ranunculus later. I had a ball designing this arrangement, as I do all of my arrangements. I'm having a good time. This took me about an hour in design work. That does not include the time that it took me to shop the materials, process the materials, and deliver the arrangement. So yes, it was a 1 hour design, but when you factor in the amount of time it took to shop, the cost of the product, and all of that at the end of it, I'd be curious to know what your thoughts are and what you would charge for this arrangement. This was a 16 or 18-inch cubed arrangement at the finish. What do you think this arrangement cost? Leave me your comment below. I'd love to hear what you think this arrangement costs. I had just one bunch of this stunning Matsumoto aster, but I'm using the Zenport shear to clean that up. Again, because I don't want any of the greenery showing. That would totally throw off the design that I'm going for here. And again, those Zenport shears are fantastic for this type of work because you can get super close to the head of the bloom without damaging it. This is just such a fantastic tool. I recommend it 100 million times over. You can shop all of these tools at my Amazon store, linked below in the description box. And again, I will link the entire recipe for this arrangement there as well. Some of these petals were damaged, so that I'm also using that Zenport shear to clean up any of the damage, as well as take off any of that collar foliage there. And then it just gets me down to this nice, fluffy purple aster. Obsessed, totally obsessed. I think this was a 5-stem bunch. It was quite the small bunch, and so I really wanted to make sure that I got as much as I could off of these stems. I think only 1 or 2 of the blooms was damaged by the end of the processing, but just spectacular. This arrangement is really starting to come together. You can see all of it kind of starting to round out now. And I've explained this in my other tutorials, how I make pavé arrangement tutorials, but how I achieve this style look is essentially by micro tweaking each flower so that there is just slight measurement between each flower. Not every flower is on the same surface level, but every flower has its own star, if that makes sense. You can see every single flower's face completely. There are no smushed flowers, there are no bunched flowers. Every single flower is on perfect display, and it is an extreme challenge, especially for these size vases. I cannot wait to work with a ceramicist to make custom FLORA LUX vases for the style pavé arrangements that I am looking to make. It is something that has been on my mind for many years now. I just haven't gotten around to doing this. I don't know any ceramicists, but it is a project that is near and dear to my heart that I really, really hope to get to do one day, because it'll completely revolutionize the way that I design these arrangements. I have these like very iconic shapes in mind that I would love to achieve with the help of a ceramicist. But basically what I'm trying to say is that achieving this style in this shape, in this size arrangement, as well as this shape vase is just a challenge, and I really, really love that challenge. It's very time consuming. Quite frankly, this really is not what most florists are going to be making, because it is just such a time consuming, for the size of the arrangement, it's a very time consuming endeavor. I really don't care. This is what I want to make, and this is what I'm passionate about making, so I am very much interested in creating works of floral art that I feel are truly representative of my vision and just what I want to see in the world. I feel like the style arrangement does not look good in every interior. I feel like the style arrangement calls for a very minimalist, clean aesthetic interior, because it's a very standout piece. You obviously would not put this kind of arrangement in a country home. I think it would look very out of place. When I imagine the interiors for this style arrangement, I see high fashion, highly contemporary, clean interiors where the florals really are, it's almost as if a space was built to venerate the flowers, because it's that much of a statement. This type of arrangement draws your attention inward. It's not a super huge statement piece. It draws all of your attention inward. It takes you into the arrangement. It takes you looking at the entire surface of the arrangement, and it's like drawing you into its own world. Whereas a statement piece might be using lots of tall, linear flowers, all maybe one type of flower. Like I have these stunning gladiola in my studio right now, and that to me is something that is a standout, that puts energy out and has a big presence to it. So now I'm finishing off this arrangement with finishing touch. This is the final step that I always use to hydrate my flowers and keep them very long lasting. It's a wax-based sealant, and this is the final look. I am just so elated with how this arrangement turned out. I had a blast making this arrangement. This was a very unique color palette, and just as unique as the person that it was for. Queen Resner, you are such a gem. You are a onyx jewel. Thank you so much for all of your support, and happy birthday, Queen. I love you so much. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really, truly hope that you learned a lot from this tutorial today, and if you did, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more floral design education and entertainment. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I look forward to chatting with you and answering any of your questions. And again, if you're someone who's not a floral designer and you're just an admirer and you want to send someone this arrangement, contact me through my website, also at the description box below. And if you are a florist and you want to make this, all the tools and materials are listed below for you. Thank you again so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.